Welcome back to another episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, your go-to source for staying sharp in a fast-moving world of manufacturing, packaging, coding, and beyond. So, let's get into what's making headlines this week. I'm your host Alexa, and today we'll discuss topics ranging from the strain on manufacturers' labor forces as ICE ramps up immigration enforcement, to Congress questioning whether Boar's Head's Deli meat plant, tied to a deadly listeria outbreak, is ready to reopen. We'll also dive into how new U.S. tariffs and import restrictions on organic sugar could send organic food prices soaring, and wrap up with a federal judge's decision to block the USDA from collecting data on SNAP applicants in 21 states. Stay tuned for these critical updates impacting industries, consumers, and public policy. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, known as ICE, has intensified its enforcement efforts, creating significant challenges for manufacturers and industries reliant on immigrant labor. This crackdown is fueled by the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, H.R. 1, which allocates over $170 billion for immigration enforcement, including $75 billion specifically for ICE. This funding makes ICE the highest funded law enforcement agency in the federal government, enabling the expansion of detention facilities and the hiring of additional personnel. As of August of 2025, ICE is detaining over 61,000 immigrants, with new detention centers being constructed across the country. However, the impact of these actions is being felt far beyond detention facilities. Industries such as manufacturing, agriculture, and food processing are grappling with severe labor shortages as workers lose their immigration protections or avoid workplaces out of fear. In Iowa, over 200 employees at JBS, a meat processing company, lost their jobs after their immigration protections under the CHNV parole program were revoked. Tomas Torres, a maintenance mechanic at Kraft Heinz and president of RWDSU Local 705, described the strain on remaining workers. "We had people there for 20 years, and all of a sudden they get notification their immigration authorization is revoked. And they can't be there anymore, and that just puts a strain on everybody." The agricultural sector has been particularly hit hard. A Florida farmer interviewed by NPR shared that rising costs for H-2A visas, the legal pathway for migrant workers, have forced him to cut production by 65% for the upcoming year. Similarly, a cheese-making facility in Wisconsin saw 43 workers walk off the job after new ownership implemented stricter immigration verification policies. Manufacturing plants are struggling to maintain production levels, with some employees being forced to work overtime or operate multiple machines, raising safety concerns. In the words of Torres, "It's a safety issue because people are falling asleep on the job. Employers are also facing challenges in verifying the legal status of their workers. While tools like E-Verify are available, they are not foolproof and cannot detect fraudulent documents. This has led to confusion and legal disputes, as seen in the case of a Maine police department that unknowingly hired an undocumented immigrant. The broader implications of this immigration crackdown are still unfolding, with approximately 740,000 workers affected by the termination of humanitarian parole programs. Industries across the board are bracing for continued disruptions. Congressional Democrats are raising concerns about the potential reopening of a Boar's Head deli meat plant in Jarrett, Virginia, which was at the center of a deadly listeria outbreak last year. The outbreak, linked to listeria-tainted liverwurst, resulted in 10 deaths, dozens of illnesses, and the recall of over 7 million pounds of deli products. Federal officials attributed the outbreak to systematic food safety failures at the facility. In a letter to Boar's Head, Representative Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut, along with 9 other lawmakers, questioned whether the company has adequately addressed its food safety issues. The letter cited recent Associated Press reports detailing sanitation problems at Boar's Head plants in Arkansas, Indiana, and another Virginia location. Inspectors documented issues such as meat residue on equipment, blocked drains, condensation on ceilings, and staff failing to follow hygiene protocols. "It is appalling that Boar's Head is encountering similar issues at other facilities of theirs," the letter stated, adding that these findings cast doubt on the Jarrett plant's readiness to reopen. Boar's Head responded by emphasizing its commitment to food safety, stating, "In our more than 120-year history, what happened at our Jarrett facility was the first time that such an event occurred. We moved quickly, aggressively, and decisively in close collaboration with the regulators and leading food safety experts to identify the root cause of the problem and implement enhancements to our food manufacturing nationwide." The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, lifted the planned suspension in July, but federal inspectors will now oversee operations for at least 90 days to ensure compliance with updated food safety plans. This marks a shift from the previous arrangement where state inspectors conducted federal inspections under a cooperative agreement. USDA officials stated that the stricter enforcement measures would be implemented if lapses occur. The Jarrett plant's history of violations includes mold, insects, liquid drippings from the ceilings, and meat residue on walls and equipment. As the plant prepares to reopen, the heightened scrutiny from federal inspectors and lawmakers serves as a reminder of the stakes involved in ensuring the safety of the nation's food supply. The price of organic food in the U.S. is expected to rise sharply this fall due to new tariffs and import restrictions on organic sugar. These measures implemented by the Trump administration include a 50% tariff on organic sugar imports from Brazil, which supplies 40% of the U.S.'s organic sugar, and the elimination of duty-free quotas for specialty sugar imports starting October 1st. Organic sugar is a critical ingredient for many organic food manufacturers, yet more than 90% of it is imported due to limited domestic production. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has justified the restrictions as a way to support the domestic sugar industry, but critics argue that the policy is misguided. Britt Lundgren, who oversees government affairs for organic yogurt maker Stony Field, stated, "It's essentially punishing domestic manufacturers for using an ingredient that we really can obtain domestically and don't have any prospects of attaining domestically anytime in the near future." The Organic Trade Association predicts that the price of organic sugar will increase by an average of 30%, with some companies like Whole Earth Brands anticipating a 100% cost hike. Tom Chapman, co-CEO of the association, warned of dramatic impacts, noting that the higher tier tariffs are not an absorbable rate for many manufacturers. The U.S. has only one organic sugar producer, Florida Crystals Corporation, which supplies just 8% of the market. Converting conventional farms to organic production takes at least 3 years, making it unlikely that domestic supply will meet demand in the near future. Marian Martinez, a spokesperson for Florida Crystals, called the USDA's policy encouraging and suggested it could boost U.S. organic sugar production if maintained long term. For smaller organic food manufacturers, the rising costs could be devastating. Many operate on thin margins and lack the resources to absorb higher input costs or reformulate products to use alternative ingredients. Nigel Willerton, president of Whole Earth Brands, explained Nigel Willerton, president of Whole Earth Brands, explained these small premium companies producing these products are literally going to find themselves priced out of the market. The broader implications of these policies extend to consumers who are likely to see higher prices for organic products on grocery shelves. Items with high sugar content, such as sweeteners and baked goods, will most likely be affected, while products like dairy may see smaller price increases. Despite the USDA's intentions, critics remain skeptical about the policy's effectiveness. Chapman noted, "When we looked at the USDA's announcements, they were talking about domestic sugar shrinking and mills closing. There's only one mill, they were in operation before and they're in operation now." As the organic food industry braces for these challenges, the lack of clear initiatives to support domestic organic growers raises questions about the long-term sustainability of the policy. A U.S. district judge in California, Maxine Chesney, has temporarily blocked the USDA from collecting personal data of Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program SNAP applicants in 21 states and Washington, D.C. The ruling comes as part of a lawsuit filed by a coalition of states which argued that the USDA's actions violated the SNAP Act. This law mandates that applicant data can be used solely for administering the program, not for other purposes. The USDA had warned states in July that failure to comply with its data request could result in the loss of SNAP funding. This sparked fears among state officials that the data might be shared with other federal agencies such as the Department of Homeland Security to aid in mass deportation efforts. These concerns are not unfounded, as the Trump administration previously sought to consolidate data from agencies like the IRS and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to support immigration enforcement. Judge Chesney sided with the states, stating that their agreement was likely to succeed and emphasizing that the USDA's plan to share the data for purposes not allowed under the SNAP Act raised significant legal and ethical questions. SNAP, formerly known as the Food Stamp Program, is a vital social safety net serving over 42 million Americans. The federal government funds the benefits while states determine eligibility and distribute the aid. The coalition of states argued that the USDA's actions could undermine trust in the program and deter eligible individuals from applying for assistance. For many, like Jacqueline Benitez of California, SNAP benefits are a lifeline. Benitez, who relies on the program to help pay for groceries, represents one of the millions of Americans who could be affected by the legal battle. President Donald Trump's 2020 executive order, which directed agencies to ensure unfettered access to comprehensive data from all state programs, has fueled concerns about the potential misuse of personal information. Some states have already turned over the requested data, but others are holding firm, citing the need to protect the privacy of their residents. The next hearing, scheduled for next month, will determine whether the restraining order becomes a longer-term prohibition. For now, the ruling provides temporary reassurance to SNAP recipients that their personal information will not be used for purposes unrelated to food assistance. This episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update is brought to you by our SNEED-JET SI-X30 Black High Throw Distance ink. The SI-X30 is engineered for versatility, offering excellent marking on both porous and non-porous substrates. With an impressive extended throw distance of up to 10 millimeters and a fast drying formula, typically instant to just a few seconds, the SNEED-JET SI-X30 ensures efficient and precise application every time. That's it for this week's episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, but the conversation doesn't stop here. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment and let us know what topics you'd like to see us dive into next. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everyone.